You'll also see if I move the hand around, it's moving his cheek and his body, and we don't want that. So that's the weight mapping. And we can adjust the weight mapping with a tool. So I'm just going to remove this influence from his face. So with your mesh selected, right click and hold and go to your Paint Skin Weights tool. And this will pull up the menu where you can select each bone or each joint. So I'll find my left shoulder joint. I'll start with the left shoulder here. And I don't want the left shoulder to affect the cheek at all. So I'm going to replace with a value of 0, and I can just paint on the mesh to remove that influence. So this might take a while depending on how bad your weight maps are. I'll show you another quicker way of selecting all these. If you right click and hold and go back to face mode, we're still in the Paint Weight Map tool, so let's hit Q to go to our selection tool, which is right up here. You select that. We'll go to face mode, right click and hold, double click on the head, and that selects all the faces in the head shape. And now if we right click and hold and go to our Paint Skin Weights tool, it'll select just those vertices on the head, and instead of painting on them, we can just flood it right here, and this will flood all of the selected vertices with a value of 0, which is black. So we'll do the same thing. We'll go back to object mode, we'll hit Q to go to our selection tool, right click and hold and go to face mode, double click on an object, right click and hold to go to the Paint Skin Weights tool, and flood. So I'll just check through the rest of these. It looks like this might happen to you sometimes, something like this. The left toe is now affecting the chin. I don't know how or why it's doing that, but let's just paint that out. And I have to actually make sure to go back to object mode to select my object because I still only had the mustache selected. So Paint Skin Weights, and there we go. So let's test this out. Let's see how it's looking. I'll go back to my selection tool by hitting Q. I can close out of this toolbox. And now if I move my Mario around, it's looking okay. I'm still seeing some distortion in the mustache here. So I'll go ahead and do that quicker method for both the head, the mustache, and the hat. So I'm just shift double clicking on all of these items. And I'll go to my Paint Skin Weights tool again. So let's find our head joint here, and we want this to have a 100% influence. So let's bring our value to 1 and hit flood, and that will remove the values from all the other bones that had any other influence because it's taking up 100% of the influence. So let's try again, going to object mode and moving our arm around. The head looks pretty good. I'm going to leave the body alone, but you could fine tune that if you want.